Good afternoon. I'd like to introduce Auntie Verna with a welcome to country. Thank you.
Hello, and for those that don't know me, my name is Verna Nichols. I was born here and my brother was Ralph Purden, just so you can put it together. And I'm here to do a welcome to country. The meeting here today is to discuss the donation of the Lady Jillian to the Furneaux Islands community. I understand the history and the importance of such an adventure. My father's family were boat builders at Battery Point called Purden and Featherstones. For 30 years, the Lady Jillian made life easier for the island, carrying various cargoes. Many people over the period worked on her, and I'm sure could tell some great stories. The restoration and future as an exhibition sounds exciting. I would like to pass on my best wishes for this adventure to be successful, so that she can once again sit proudly as is her due. Mina, Palina, Nina, Marpley, Malat, I welcome you all to Aboriginal country. On behalf of the elders of my community, I'm here to pay my respect and to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land we are meeting on today. Woolika. Thank you.
Sorry about this. Good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome. Ruined the lot. Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Ronald Wise, and along with my friend and associate Peter Rhodes, I represent the Furneaux Maritime History Association. How many of you here today have visited the Lady Jillian at her present birth at Port Leslie in Launceston? It's a lot. When I first saw her there, I wept. She reminded me of a faithful old working dog on a chain, itching for one last adventure. But everybody's too busy. There's never enough money, never enough drive, and never enough just general will to give her that one last ride. You, like me, visit because you love the old girl and you don't want to let her go. And in some cases, you can't. We are most grateful and humbled by the offer from Warren Dick, operator of Eastern Line Shipping, to donate the Auxiliary Ketch Lady Jillian to the Furneaux Islands community. We feel a strong responsibility to do the best for the ship and to honour this significant and generous gesture by Warren on behalf of his family and the family business. During today's discussion, I will outline our intention to retrieve the ship from Port Leslie and tow her to Lady Barron, where she'll be hauled out of the water stern first and negotiated to a prepared hard stand near the slipway. And once there, we will anchor her and prepare her for restoration. Over the longer term, we would hope to use her cabins and various rooms as a museum space, displaying our artefacts and photos, with a working galley and a theatre come meeting room in the cargo hold. But that is in the future. Today I will begin with a brief history of the ship and then get down to the details of the planned retrieval and voyage, and a challenging haul from the sea to a hard stand. We will have challenges from go to woe, and we plan to iron most of those out before we cast off. Later on in the meeting, Peter will do the bits that I have trouble with. The structure and aims of the Maritime History Association, the formation and role of the Lady Jillian Association, the processes we will need to undertake for the project to proceed, and the important role of fundraising to support the project, and other ways the community can be involved to bring this vision to reality. But first, the background. In 1945, Reg Crouch designed and began construction of an unusual composite hull, three-masted schooner for this southern Australian trade. We'll be showing a movie after today's meeting made by Reg Crouch, and I'm hoping that you'll stay around to watch it. It's the movie of the building of the Jillian Crouch. She came off the stocks in 1948 and was christened by Reg's wife Lillian and named after Reg's daughter Jillian. Following a career of a little less than 20 years contracting to many ports in southern Australia, including Lady Barron as a three-masted schooner, she was refitted with tanks for transporting sulphuric acid, and her middle mast and centreboard were removed. She became an auxiliary ketch. In around 1969, she was sold to the Flinders Shipping Company and was utilised for the next 30 years as a general cargo and livestock carrier, operating out of Launceston to Whitemark and Lady Barron and the corner at Truanna, with regular trips to Welshpool in Victoria and occasional stock trips to Devonport, and to and from the outer islands where required. Time and tide would not wait, and by the turn of the new century her time as a viable concern was nearing an end, and a new era of shipping as we know it today began. I sailed with her on a final voyage to Launceston for the Flinders Shipping Company from Whitemark via Lady Barron. I was on a contract to take some photos for the museum at Amida. It was a rainy and overcast day, and the beautiful ship, she felt as sullen as the weather. Then just before sunset, the sun shone through a small break in the clouds and briefly bathed her in sunlight. That special light only we of the islands know. It shone on her and nothing else. Nothing on the Black Sea around us, and nothing on her slightly unusual trailing weight. Then it was gone. Les Dick, Warren's father, saw some future in her as a trader, albeit brief. There she is at Burnie Wharf with a container load of explosives from possibly Eden or even Newcastle, ready for going to the mines on the west coast. It's an eerie photo, in my opinion. There was a brief future as a trader, but his dream was to refurbish her as an operating charter vessel, catering for high-end international tourists. He'd done a beautiful restoration of the Defender 30 years earlier and was well aware of the scope of the project. If anyone could keep it going, Les could, and anything was better than nothing. But misfortune overtook Les, and he passed away before he could even begin to realise his dream. I woke one Saturday morning in 1999, and it was a beautiful day, overcast. Apart from a few birds calling, it was quiet. The air smelled clean, apart from a faint whiff of the sea. I went for a walk and ended up down at the White Mark Wharf. Cattle yards were gone. Cattle yards were gone. Were still there, sorry, rusting away. On the other side, the box thorns and mirror bushes had taken over the sheep yards. The cattle race, which used to grace the northern side of the wharf, was gone, as was the shed, which still offered us a little bit of shelter until recently. The heart and soul of the port village of White Mark had been torn out. The ships, the ultimate reason for our existence there, were gone. And my kids were growing up in a world which was so different, so much more sterile than the White Mark I grew up in. As little tackers on the White Mark beach, we watched Shearwater, Prion and Margaret Thwaites loading and unloading. We were too young to go on the big jetty and it was dangerous. And the Prion would sound her horn, a hooter, as she left the wharf. A few years later, as we walked home from school, it was the towering mast of the Leadery and the Bigelow Atta we would see, sometimes at the jetty and often at anchor waiting for the tide. I then were allowed on the wharf with your father, and the action was intense, but organised in a crazy sort of a way. It was noisy and I loved it. Much more so than school. Then, as we flew home from high school in the Fokker for our holidays, it was eyes peeled for a chance to see one of the shipping company boats coming or going from the islands. It was our first link with home since we were last there, and it was a wonderful feeling to get home from the plane, get out of those bloody school clothes they made us wear, and rush down to the wharf, and rush down to the wharf in time to see the same ship arriving that you saw south of Goose about an hour ago. It was like magic. These were the first real steel ships that served our island. Locally owned and operated. My old man had shares he was very proud of. They were his way of contributing. First, the Flinders trader took on the run, along with the ageing Leadery. The Lady Jillian, former Jillian Crouch, replaced the Leadery in around 1969, and the larger capacity Katika joined the fleet in 1979. It was hard to imagine it was all gone as I stood there that morning. No more noisy trucks in the middle of the night, no more aromatic bucolic westerlies, no more general organised mayhem, no couple of old codgers from yesteryear chewing the fat as they waited to collect the groceries. White Mark had died and become something else. That's why I'm here today, I suppose, and I'm hoping that's why you are here too. During the symposium conducted by the Maritime History Association last August at Lady Barron, the prospect of acquiring the Lady Jillian and restoring her as a standing exhibit at Lady Barron Slipway site, right next door to where we hope one day to build a maritime history centre, was mooted. It all sounded a bit wild and possible, and I was chosen to consult with Warren, Dick, at the upcoming show. It has taken a while to get there, and Peter will elaborate on the processes we needed to undertake. But in a nutshell, here we are. I flew into Launceston 2 weeks ago to look over the ship with Neil Pickett and Warren. She is surprisingly solid, considering her time laid up. Vandals and thieves have had their day, but she is still dry, not smelly, and has all the important things we need to get her to Lady Barron safely. John Hammond will undertake the tow and take charge of proceedings from hooking up the tow at Launceston until she's on dry land. Matthew Bales will provide engineering advice and services and oversee the haul-out process until she is safely positioned on the hard stand. That is a brief of what we hope to achieve. There are countless intricacies to consider, and it is a bit early to plan much further ahead than that. It's about it from me. We cannot realistically plan much more until the land has been acquired and the relevant boxes ticked. We estimate that it will require significant funding to undertake stage one, that is, the retrieval and return, including capital costs. Ongoing restoration and preparation of working areas for future use will continue as funds allow. You'll be asked to vote soon, and your vote will decide if we are to proceed or otherwise. We are possibly the last place in the country to trade using auxiliary ketches. We have the rare opportunity to own one of the best and most beautiful examples of that era. I sincerely hope that we don't miss the boat, so to speak. There will be an opportunity to ask questions relevant to the project at the close of the meeting. Your thoughts and ideas are valuable to us. There are also whiteboards which you can write your thoughts on, and we will endeavour to follow up on the bits we may not be able to answer today. I was 13 years old when I first saw the Lady Jillian. Under all the superficial scars, she looks as good today as she did 54 years ago. We have assembled a team of experienced, resourceful and determined people to assist us in this project. Given your support, we'll get this done. Thank you.